Started here, like I suppose all boys started playing football from the time he could walk, more or less. And he was always a keen sportsman. Sport was always what he was good at. He was not a fellow who was particularly good at or keen on studies and exams and so on, but he was always a good sportsman, and particularly football, yeah.
I think John is possibly the most exciting talent to emerge here since George Best. And as a Manchester United supporter, that's saying something.
Obviously, he's got to get a little more experience under his belt, but there's no reason why he should not, over the next 2 or 3 years, become a world-class player. That's how highly I rate him.
When Barnes and his family moved to England, John's natural grace and sporting style earmarked him as someone special. He'd inherited the Jamaican love of cricket, but football was always more important.
For kids, young kids, before they're at an age where they're going to take up a sport seriously, football is the #1 sport. But then when really they have to choose, football in Jamaica isn't really a very high standard. So I think that's when they turn to cricket.
But you are an all-rounder. I know you've attained a very good level in cricket as well.
Well, if 62 against St Albans is a high level, I suppose.
But in those early days, was there any choice to be made by you, or was it, always going to be football?
It was always going to be football. Always. There's no doubt about it.
The Barnes family are all sports enthusiasts. Father Ken was a Jamaican international at football, but it was in uniform that he achieved national fame, rising to the rank of colonel in the Jamaican army, but still finding time to encourage his son's love of sport.
In Jamaica, he used to coach my football team. We weren't really a football team, but a few of the lads joined up and formed the team, and he used to coach us. And even when I came to England, he was one of the few spectators that used to go every week. Rain, snow, no matter what, he was there.
You were just 13 when you came over to England. That must have been quite a wrench for a young boy.
It was, but it was very exciting coming to England because, you'd seen pictures of snow and heard so much about it from your friends, but you hadn't really, experienced it. I begin to hate it now, but at first I loved it.
Well, what about the football scene? That must have been exciting as well, knowing you were coming to such a football stronghold as England.
Yeah, that's right. Probably looking back, I wouldn't, at the time, I didn't think I'm going to come to England and in a few years' time, I may have a chance of being a professional footballer. I just realised that, I'm going to be playing in a higher standard of football and kids my age are going to be better than me and, that sort of thing.
But John was wrong. Playing for Stowe Boys Club in London, he was an instant success, despite having to conquer inferior pitches as well as older opponents.
He was outstanding. He had so much time and obviously the ability to beat people, but at schoolboy level, a good class kid can do that. But he was very composed, and he looked virtually as if the others were just making up the numbers at times.
The next step was men's football with Sudbury Court, whose modest home ground, ironically, is only a mile from Wembley Stadium. The reputation of the young Barnes quickly spread, and Sudbury's touchline became a familiar vantage point for League Club talent spotters, who'd already been to Sudbury for one First Division player, Luton and England's Brian Steen. Everyone at Sudbury realised that here was an exceptional talent who could make it to the top. But John faced a dilemma. The family were due to return to Jamaica. Watford came along just in time. By the time John appeared in his last game for Sudbury, his first cup final, and by the way he scored the winning goal, he'd already signed the forms to take him to Vicarage Road.
I saw enough of John in 20 minutes to convince me he had a lot of talent. So I left my scout to see the rest of the game, to get me his home number, telephone number and details, and I would then phone and have a word with him, which happened. And on the Saturday evening, I phoned his home and said, may I have a word with John Barnes? And someone at the other end said, well, may I ask who's speaking? And I introduced myself. And lo and behold, the reply was, good gracious, Bertie, it must be 10 years since we last met. I was in charge of the team that played you in Trinidad when we had a little fracas. So, yes, I remembered, and that was Ken Barnes, Father Barnes, and I told him what I wanted and said, well, come around, have a gin and tonic.
He was just 17 at the time, and of course, you worry about a boy who's only 17, being left on his own, and of course I wasn't sure whether he would make the grade at the time. I felt he had talent, but thousands of other youngsters have talent. I wasn't certain how well he would do, so I was a little bit worried, but that's what he wanted to do, and of course I always encouraged him, so it's turned out well for him.
Well, since everything has gone so well, I can't help but have the confidence because since I've been at Watford got promotion FA Cup final this year, runners-up last year, everything has gone so well. But there's been occasions when I or Watford haven't played too well. In the next game, I'm a bit, nervous about it.
There's always a great debate about which is your best position. Which is your favourite position?
Well, at the moment, I seem to be more effective on the left wing. So I would have to say left wing.
A Wembley medal today puts John well on the way to the glittering career he dreamt about when he first saw on television his ultimate football hero, the great Pele.
Well, when they talk about great players nowadays, you may talk about a certain aspect of their play. But Pele, as an all-rounder, I mean, he was 5'8", and I mean, you see the way he heads the ball. I mean, just his all-round ability was unbelievable. He could do everything.
I think you spent a few hours watching this particular tape, haven't you?
Yeah, I've watched this about 20 times, I should imagine, since I've had it. And I'll watch it many more times. I think I'll watch it before the cup final, I think, for some inspiration.